Okay, audio seems to be working just fine. Okay, audio seems to be working just fine. Alrighty, alrighty then. Alright then. Hey folks, Black Cross and NBC Mekachu here. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to Kingdom Hearts 3. We're
finally here.
Yeah, we just finally started on Kingdom Hearts 3 last stream, and we are continuing on our adventure. And so what we're gonna do for this little bit, because Twilight Town is a relatively short visit, we will tackle Toy Box in this stream. But I do want to explore a little bit of the overall where is it at? I forgot how to do this. There we go. Off to a great start. Forgot how to play the game.
I mean, in all fairness, it's been over a year.
Technically a week, but in terms of the Gummy Ship menu, yeah, it's been a year. So. But yeah, figured do a little exploring around the Gummy menu and stuff like that. Mostly because of the fact that, you know, I have to say, out of all the Gummy Ship things and stuff like that, I actually like Kingdom Hearts 3's Gummy Ship the best. You know, I really do.
They just took what worked from the first two and built upon that, right?
Yeah. Basically, the people who made Einhander, which is... Einhander is a Squaresoft game. And
never heard of it.
It's actually an interesting side-scroller. I actually got a copy of it myself last year and played a little bit of it, and I actually really liked it. I was actually surprised with it.
Okay.
But yeah, they really honed really well with the missions, and it's just it's solid. It's perfect in my opinion.
I forget, are the Gummy Ships that you fight against counted in the bestiary?
Nah, as far as I know, all Gummy Ships have never been part of the bestiaries.
That is so odd.
It would be cool to kind of get a closer look at some of their designs and stuff. But yeah, they've never been, as far as I know.
I feel like that's something that should have been there.
You would think so, especially with in Kingdom Hearts 2 case, where there was a trophy for like clearing missions and stuff like that. You would think there would be kind of like a journal entry with Chip and Dale.
Maybe they plan to include a model viewer of some sorts for these things in some of the mods.
That would be cool if that ended up being the case.
Just nothing big, it's just more of a quality of life thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still adding content, but I feel like it's rather small in the grand scheme. It's not like you're adding it completely in. It's not like you're adding completely new models down to the AI and stuff.
Right. You're just adding an extra thing that ordinarily you wouldn't add.
Yeah. So you keep breaking those crystals. What's that for?
They basically contain pieces and parts for making Gummy Ships.
So, what's that mean exactly for the contents from within?
Basically, so...
Like, are you just breaking apart the remains of older ships?
No, they're just in a weird way, they're kind of like chest for the gummy ship. You know, you break a crystal and you get a extra part for the ship. Because as far as I know, there aren't any other gummy ships aside from what Donald and Goofy drive.
I was just thinking, like, maybe the material that makes up the gummy pieces, after a long period of time exposed to space without proper maintenance, just turned into crystals.
That's a possibility too. I mean, they never really dove deep with the lore of the gummy ships. The gummy ships are just a weird kind of material structure that's easy to put together and is used to make like a ship. Because I think the term gummy is sort of like a weird sticky substance. Not a gross sticky, but just something that tends to stick together and make something out of it. Thus is how we got
also,
the gummy
that's
phone.
Clearly just a Pokeball.
With just different moving objects.
Yeah. It's like you combined a Pokeball with Big Weld from Robots. Yeah, that'd be really interesting lore if that ended up being the case. Just the fact that you could basically just grow more of the same part in space.
Yeah. There we go.
Like, the only other time I could think of gummy being used contextually is in Mystery Dungeon.
Oh.
Of course, instead of those being used as a means of transport, they end up... I believe they end up buffing up the values of your party members. MJ, not on the table! Look, I know you want attention, but now it's not the time, okay? Look, I'll hug you, okay? I'll hug you, and then after that, you need to leave me alone. These missions are a lot longer than the others.
Well, I mean, the little tiny missions are a little bit shorter, but in terms of like the open spaceness, it's definitely a lot more expansive when you think about it.
Oh, so you just like... You're tackling multiple at once then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, literally, the open space is just one big giant sandbox for the gummy ship itself. You know, you could just explore the vast open regions of space, collecting stuff and everything like that, and grinding levels for the gummy ship to where you can either add more parts or customize it however way you want to customize it and stuff. Like, if I wanted to, I could easily jump into Twilight Town and just continue on through the story, but it's cool of how you can just roam around space and just do whatever you want, you know?
Alright. So then, for the highlight reel, would this be combined with the other half of last stream?
Yeah.
Reason why I ask is because I don't know for sure if there's enough from last stream's footage to warrant in it being its own highlight reel.
Right. It depends on what's on it. I just normally just edit the video, and depending on how long it takes, you know?
Are those supposed to be landmines?
Space mines, yes.
Okay. I like how the blast off beam from Kingdom Hearts 1 is used in the result screen here.
Yeah.
So what do you suppose sets Gummy Space apart from, like, real-life outer space? Apart from the obvious.
Right. I think the biggest thing is, like, the amount of, different elements that's out in space. Because, not in this section, but definitely in, the second, world map, there's, like, snow elements. Just out in open space.
I mean, like, by that, do you mean, like, full-on snow, or just, like, ice?
Yeah, full-on snow.
Because...
Like, there's actually snow textures out there.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, you do have your fair share of ice crystals and stuff like that, but there's actual snow. Like, on top of it.
Alright.
I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, ice crystal, that's one thing, but snowflakes? It's like, okay, hang on. Science, please.
While we're on the topic, is it assumed that all of this is surrounded by a specific sun of some sort? Because, like, I don't know how exactly you'd be able to see any of this otherwise in the ship.
Fair point, yeah. I mean, we don't technically see a sun. And ordinarily, whenever you look at a solar map, you usually see a sun of some kind. Regardless of which direction you're in. Oh, and there's also tree roots.
You sure that isn't just petrified wood?
It might be.
Incoming!
Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. I couldn't help myself.
I mean, to be fair, there is a gummy ship that looks like a frickin' Star Destroyer. Maybe not in the same light, but it's pretty huge.
I guess in hindsight, this is less like Star Wars and more like Star Fox.
Yeah.
So does this count as an emblem?
Yeah.
Heartless?
I mean, Clearly we see an emblem on it, so it would count as an emblem Heartless.
Because I don't know if it's like just a Heartless itself or a ship.
I guess that's a good point, but I imagine there's not like a pure blood Heartless ship other than the one that Ansem had in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Also, why do I get the feeling this is tied to Corona, aka Rapunzel's world?
It would make sense for the flower-shaped look it gives. Okay, I forgot how powerful that ray was.
And now it's turned back into a butthole. Don't tell me that's not what it looks like.
I wasn't thinking of that.
I guess the other thing it could maybe look like is a barnacle. Also, the way that the sides expand and retract could maybe tie itself to the... I remember that there's something called a Flower of Jericho.
Huh. Interesting.
And where it retracts in on itself whenever there's not enough moisture. They usually bloom around rainy seasons.
Oh, well. We got blasted.
You lose.
Thankfully, they're the retry function for gummy ships.
You know, the fact that I mentioned there being a sun, I wonder if those little appendages double as, like, solar panels.
Probably.
Hey, out of curiosity, since I know it's an inevitability that this is gonna end up on this channel at some point, are you planning to play through Breath of the Wild again first?
I hadn't really decided what to do next after Kingdom Hearts.
I'm talking about, like, when I said an inevitability, I'm talking about with Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know. I'm not sure, really, in all honesty. I mean, I hadn't pre-ordered it yet, so it might be a while, but maybe. But since I'm getting my ass kicked, we'll come back to this later.
Yeah, maybe after you get through a couple of worlds.
Yeah, it might be a good idea. I think we're ready, though, to tackle on, Twilight Town.
Those little gates look like they came straight out of, like, an early 2000s sci-fi kid show. Like, are you familiar with a show called The Eon Kid?
It sounds familiar.
It was on Kids WB for a certain amount of time.
I'm not sure.
Before Kids WB was turned into the CW.
Yes, I don't think I recall that.
Okay, what about the, hang on. What about Cyber Chase?
Cyber Chase sounds familiar as well, but I don't recall it either.
Really?
Mm-mm.
That was one of the biggest shows on PBS. I think it's still going to this day.
Oh, really? Huh. As far as I can recall, I don't recall that.
Despite the fact that Gilbert Gottfried played Digit, they ended up recasting him.
Huh. I'll have to look into those, because I don't remember them.
That's my first ever exposure growing up to Christopher Lloyd. He played Hacker.
Ah, okay.
Speaking of which, I got something for you to react to while we wait for this to load.
Well, it's already done loading.
Oh.
But we'll take a look at what you got.
Well, I first need to locate it again.
Well, while you're locating it, we'll go ahead and proceed.
Found it.
That was quick. Okay, let's take a look at it then. Excuse me.
This guy was Christopher Lloyd.
What did he say? You sure?
Yeah, these guys are just... They are such a highlight.
That actually looks familiar, in all honesty. After looking at those three characters, that actually does kind of remind me of something, but I can't... I don't remember, though. Oh dear.
Prepare yourself.
I know what it is. Nope. Okay, I hadn't seen that one. That's
Yeah,
good
they've made a
though.
plethora of those.
I know. But wow. That's actually really
Okay, one more,
good. Okay.
and then we can get into the world.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
Imagine if that was Grover.
Oh gosh. Grover have a field day. He wouldn't know what to do.
Twilight Town, home of the sea salt ice cream.
Gorge, we forgot to fill Master Yen Sid in on what happened. Should we go back?
You mean about Maleficent and Zigbar? No, the others have already got enough on their plates as it is. Why go stressing them out? The three of us know how to handle a couple of old adversaries, right?
But doesn't that thing Pete said bother you?
Come on, we're talking about Pete. That means it's probably no big deal.
I don't know.
Oh, cool! The trams are still here!
Do the trams still stop if you're in front of the track?
Maybe
Yeah.
you're feeling what Roxas feels because he misses home.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I ran into Roxas in the Sleeping Worlds. It was like seeing into his heart for the first time.
Uh-huh. It was a test to see if your data version was ready to face the hurt that you carry inside.
Was I ready? I do know hurt. When I lost Riku and Kairi, and later when I lost the Keyblade, and you guys had to go on without me like that? Having no one to turn to was the worst kind of hurt. But that just shows how much you mean to me. Carrying around a little hurt can't be all that bad. Hurting is part of caring.
Of course, any Sora's still Sora.
So wait, if Roxas feels something, then we're in the right place. Roxas, I'm gonna find you. Huh?
What is that?
Yeah.
Nobody's.
Guess who's back?
Wait, so you have access to beans already?
Are you surprised?
Not exactly. I know that Beans is the first one you unlock. I just didn't know it would be this soon.
I was trying to see if we can catch a teapot by chance. It's kind of hard to see.
The finisher is all of them?
Yeah.
Highlight editing Black Cross, you could probably scope out which one was Teapot.
I will try to pause and freeze frame as best as possible.
Also, if I hope this isn't too specific, but if you do find him, the last bit of words that I say at the end of the Dream Drop Distance Let's Play would probably fit there, but add a bit of reverb to make it echo.
What was that voice? I know I heard it.
I didn't hear it.
You sure it wasn't the wind? Or something else?
I'm pretty sure.
Where'd they come from?
Get the ice cream later.
What? Hold up! See? Voices! New ones? What? Hayner? Pence? Olette?
And a stream of Heartless.
What is that?
Hey, Sora! Hello, goodbye.
Oh. Go! We got this!
I just want to know what they did to piss off a horde of Heartless like that.
It's a good question.
That is a lot of health bars.
That is. I know we don't officially kill it, but. Whew. I remember seeing that for the first time, being like, "Oh, this is gonna be a long fight."
Oh god, I just realized something. A mod of that, but it's the baby Oswalds.
Baby Oswalds?
You know, the little rabbits.
Oh. Oh! Okay, then.
Either that or the horde of mice from the camping episode from Mickey Mouse cartoons where they fed Donald a bee. Pick your poison.
I get you now, I get you.
Nice fighting. Thanks, Sora.
Hayner, Pence, Olette, it's been ages.
What? It hasn't been that long.
I mean, for us, it's been technically.
Donald, Goofy, how are ya?
We're good.
Howdy there, Olette.
So does this mean that weird stuff's going down again?
You kidding, Pence?
I mean, the last
When have
time
we
we
ever seen
saw
a tornado
them
of shadowy
was
blobs before?
roughly
It's
October.
not weird.
Yeah.
This is unprecedented.
I guess it is. The creatures from the last time were bright white. These things must be new. Man, I can't wait to get to sleuthin'.
We're already done with the school project, silly. Whatever's going on, you wouldn't be here unless you had a good reason.
Which is?
Well, actually, we're looking for Roxas.
Roxas?
That's funny. I don't know any Roxas, but the name sounds familiar.
Maybe we bumped into him somewhere.
That's one way to put it.
Actually, he might have been friends with another version of you.
This photograph.
Yeah, we've got the same one.
Oh yeah, the other Twilight Town.
It's like one of those spot the differences.
So does this count as meddling with the world order?
I guess in that town, we're friends with this Roxas.
I'm not sure.
Sora, let us help you track Roxas down.
I guess that depends on what you would classify the world order for Twilight Town.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same level with Hollow Bastion, once you think about it.
Alternate us knew Roxas? Then
Okay.
maybe alternate other folks did too.
Sora, you three should go to the place in the photo. It's the old
So I
mansion.
don't know if it's just
Three of
got
us
something
will
to do
cover
with the
places in
model
town.
being slightly more updated, but Sora's hair looks a lot less spiky.
Oh yeah.
Mostly because he got a haircut or hair trim, as it was.
Photo while we're all here?
Sure.
That's a great idea.
Alright.
Yeah, it's definitely more obvious if you were to have like a comparison photo between 1, 2, and 3. 4's definitely got a little bit more, I suppose you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? Not as spiky? I don't know what word would be used. Sort of laid back. Almost kind of more natural.
Tough luck.
Because it's like, for it to be that spiky, you would have to have a lot of hair gel.
Oh, I'm so
Right.
proud of the photo.
But it's a little bit
Also-
more, laid down.
They mention Sora mentioning to Donald that he pulled the
Everybody smile.
short straw.
That's racist.
That came out great.
Oh, a lucky emblem.
Lucky emblem.
Oh yeah, they are huge right now. Supposedly, these things are hidden all over town. And if you get a picture of them, they'll bring you good luck.
Cool. Wait, look guys. Is that?
Yeah, you're right. I see it too.
Should the king?
The king's meddling.
I knew it.
Good luck, because they're not all this easy to find.
Okay, we better start asking around. You start by checking out the old mansion. We'll catch up.
Got it.
So how exactly does the rail system here work for the trams?
The what?
The trams, like I don't really see any real rails.
I don't think it's a matter of a rail. More like a guiding system.
So it's like indented into the ground.
Yeah, like, you see how it's set up right here?
Yeah.
It's kind of almost the same way as like how, well, maybe not in that same instance, but sort of like how Walt Disney World's tram system was. Except minus like the little metal thing that was like in the middle of it.
That would have been kind of weird if these things had like a steering wheel.
It'd be interesting if that ended up being the case. But the way I see it, you got these little borders right here before it gets down to the center of it. And that little crevice kind of guides the wheels and prevents it from like swerving outward.
Yeah, it's very much like a rail, but made of stone.
Yeah.
Oh man, I imagine repairs on this is gonna be a bitch.
I mean, that was one of the reasons why they... pardon me.
Excuse you.
Why they, didn't continue it, after so long.
Hey, I think that's a lucky emblem.
There we go.
Let's see.
This is gonna take a while for me to get used to all this controls.
Oh, seeing that we're in camera mode, I just remembered something else.
Oh dear, what do you remember?
Let's see.
You'll see.
Oh boy.
Okie dokie, ready to check out the old mansion?
Come on. Okay, there we go. Feast your eyes.
Okay, hang on.
Let's see.
What was Goofy doing there?
When you take pictures of them, they pose, and that's one of...
Well, I know that, but like, he looked like he was doing a squat.
He was saluting.
Let's see.
My point is that you caught it
Let's
mid
see.
frame.
How's this? Goofy enough for you?
But alright then, let's take a look-see. Waluigi! Oh. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I have come to see you here.
It's funny because of Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Waluigi's yelling in the echoes, "You're not even a Nintendo property!" And Sora's like,
at
neither are
Snake.
these guys.
Wow, the tunnel system is really in disrepair.
Heh, mostly water.
Looks like the paint's peeling off in some places.
Almost does.
What do you mean, almost?
Like, it doesn't look completely, almost as though as if it's just regular rust rather than it peeling off.
I'm talking about on the floor.
Huh. Are we talking like right over here or what?
Yeah.
I was thinking water splashes, but I guess it could be mistaken for paint peeling off.
Could have fooled me with the Discord quality, but I digress.
Ah, fair point.
I do not remember the forest being connected to one of those.
Let's see.
Because they've had to patch up that hole somehow. One of my favorite parts of Kingdom Hearts 3. Adding Ratatouille. Lemmy!
What's that?
And the return of the Power Wild.
What do you think?
Yep.
they're up to?
It's like Goofy can see that tiny little thing.
Look, on that branch, the Heartless have him surrounded.
Oh no!
Watch out!
Yeah!
Goofy and Donald just having like a back and forth. It's like, gosh, Sora. Wasn't the last time we came across these things deep jungle? Oh, right. Yep. We don't talk about tarts. I hope I'm entertaining. So level progression wise, which world would you say would qualify after Twilight Town?
Well, technically that would be
Take care.
Toy Box first.
Okay.
Whoa! What? Whoa!
Looky! That little feller's parked on your head.
Huh? Would you cut that? Oh! Oh!
You know, maybe he wants you to pick up the fruit for him.
Okay, that's fine, but I can do it by myself. I just need to collect the fruit? Right then. So,
I
what are you
wonder.
gonna do with all this anyway?
If Remy were to go to Pride Lands, would Sora, Donald, and Goofy be able to understand him?
Theoretically, yeah.
Well,
They probably would.
Okay. You be careful going home.
Or Atlantica? Because I know the animals talk there too.
You know, that's an interesting thought process. I imagine it would.
Next stop, the mansion.
Well, by
'Cause even-
animals, I mean mostly the sea life and maybe seagulls.
Yeah, about to say, the only other animal aside from fish are, like, the birds. But I imagine it would work.
And I guess if you include returning to the sea, stuff like seals. Is it me or do they make the large bodies larger?
It feels like they're larger.
Here we go.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, is the bouncy wild in this too?
Not just the Power Wilds.
I don't know how I feel about the bouncy wild even being here if that were the case though.
Yeah, the banana peels would get annoying real easily.
Back off.
But yeah, it's really interesting the fact that we haven't seen this thing in a game since Chain of Memories.
Yeah. It's definitely
If
weird.
you're not counting Key.
Yeah.
Makes me kind of wonder what's in store for a couple of the other Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 Heartlesses. Like, who's to say we won't see the Defender return one of these days?
That would be interesting. The return of Danos. By then, I hope I have a frickin' supersonic cannon to where I can obliterate that shield.
That building up ahead.
Honestly, I'm surprised Defenders weren't in Beast's castle.
Yeah, you think it would.
Maybe Wyverns as well?
It would definitely make sense, especially if you went towards, like, balconies and stuff like that. They'd be kind of perched up there, and then they just launch out and attack you.
I feel like the Wyverns would be in La Cité de Cloch.
Yeah, they would. If there was more, if that was invaded by Heartlesses.
Yeah.
What do you think, guys? This place is even creepier than I remember.
Well, they do say that this mansion is haunted.
I mean, you guys have been to Halloween Town, so...
Yeah.
Thanks for the heart attack.
Oh, what? Did I scare you?
Our bad.
So how did it go? Did you get any leads?
Nope, afraid not. The asking around thing was a total bust.
Yep. This old mansion is our last hope.
Da 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 da.
Another Twilight Town awaits.
Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Wow, for Star Wars, now Luigi's Mitch. Real talk though, Egad would totally research Heartlesses if he had the chance.
Yeah.
Here we go.
If not Heartlesses, then maybe Nobodies.
The password was, sea salt ice cream, right? Okay, I'm in. Let's get that transporter working. Oh man, the transporter's
Are we gonna get a recoded too?
Protected from what?
I hope
Guess
not.
from us? We can't use it to get to the other Twilight Town.
Why not? It worked before. We sent Sora there.
Well, that was then, and this is now.
And there's no other way?
None that I know.
Great. Huh?
Hello, Sora. You wouldn't happen to be in front of a computer.
Huh? Well, yeah, but how'd you know that?
I was tinkering with Ansem's computer. You know, to decrypt the code that was left in it. And I noticed that someone had logged in from another terminal. I figured it might be you.
He'd be right.
Yeah, the log terminal.
You don't know any slang.
Oh, and what? You do?
I know I haven't got a clue.
Then, who was it that logged in?
Oh, hi there. This is Pence. I'm the one who logged into the computer.
Good. As long as it's a user that we know we can trust.
Yup. But I'm kind of stuck here. One of the programs is protected.
Assuming that
so
Sora isn't trustable.
not so much trustable, just not exactly knowledgeable. It's sort of like giving a monkey a cell phone and expecting them to try to use it functionally. The first thing they're going to do is just go...
I was kind of thinking that it'd be more applicable to trying to teach how the internet works to, I don't know, an elderly person.
I guess you have a point there, but still. Sora's been an islander his whole life, so...
It's the only way to find Roxas. You gotta help us.
Another Twilight Town? And a transporter? Okay. A virtual town inside the computer made of data.
A datascape, fellas. We've seen one. That's what we used once to investigate Jiminy's journal.
Maybe I can do something.
Pence, let's get a network set up. My address here is...
Look at Sora, he's about to fall asleep there.
Okay, sharing is enabled.
Huh? Were you able to fix it?
Now that our two computers have been successfully networked together, I can take control of the terminal there and change the privileges.
And Roxas?
Yes. For the virtual world to be completely realized, Ansem the Wise
would have included Roxas's full data in the construction, meaning somewhere on your machine there's a log of that data that, basically, we can decipher Ansem's code more quickly, and we can analyze the virtual Twilight Town while we're at it.
Okay, great.
He realized he had to dumb down for Sora.
Glad you're following along. Don't worry, we'll handle it.
Chip and Dale will be helping me out here on this end. I'll call you back as soon as we know anything more.
Thanks.
Wait, Chip and Dale are in Radiant Garden?
Before I forget,
Nah, they're via Disney Castle connected to the computer.
Former members. You knew him as Vexen.
Or Gummy Phone in this case.
But to us, he was Ansem's apprentice, Evan. He was recompleted like the rest of us.
but hadn't regained consciousness yet. Then, sometime after Lee left, Evan vanished.
Alias and Dylan, the two you knew as Lexius and Zaldin, they went out looking for him, but he's just gone. And I'm starting to worry.
You think he's on their side?
I think it's a real possibility. He's a devious researcher. You should be careful.
All right. Thanks.
He's like Colress from
Oh,
Pokemon.
no. We got work. I totally forgot.
Really? But what about all this?
Hey, both are important. We're gonna need some cash to go to the beach. Also, don't forget the pretzels. Gotta buy 4 now.
Oh, I get it.
He's thinking ahead.
Later, Sora.
Yeah. See ya, Hayner.
Bye, Donald. Goofy.
Goodbye!
Oh, and since I'm manning the computer here, you guys are in charge of earning my share.
No pretzel for Pence.
So, would Shion technically be born in Land of Departure?
I guess that depends, because technically, Castle Oblivion was a research facility for the vessels, if story is correct on Vexen's research and stuff, so ideally, technically, yes, it would. You have to make a long stretch of an explanation for them, but yeah, it would be the thing.
Oh, what's next?
I'm sorry. My mind just clicked to the... Are you familiar with the... You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie.
No, I'm not.
I'm not just picturing that, but it's with with Shion and Vexen.
Oh gosh. I'm sure Fex is just face palming him the entire time, and he's just like, oh dear God, what have I done? What have I created? What have these assholes been up to?
Suspect?
Handsome! Zemnis!
So they were tracking Sora by the X on his ass.
There isn't an X on him anymore, though, if you notice.
Roxas does exist. His heart's inside my heart.
Well, no.
And in the
Well-
unlikely event you did manage to separate them,
Got you stumped on that one, didn't they?
I'd have to look at the design again.
where is it you think you can put
You're gonna be paranoid now. It's like there's an X
Roxas
somewhere.
used to live in the other Twilight town, right? So, I'm just gonna put him back there.
Do you even realize what you are saying? The other Twilight Town is just data.
A heart can live anywhere, even inside data. There are hearts all around us.
Ansem and Zemnis used to be part of the same person, right? But look, now they exist separately just fine. If they can do it, then I don't see any reason why you and Roxas can't find a way.
Oh, yeah!
You tell him, Captain Goofy.
In that case, by
I think
all
that's the
means,
only time Donald has referred to him as
Roxas more
Captain.
than Roxas's return.
Well, mostly because Goofy had a smart, ideal point. He's not wrong. It's like, technically, Master Xehanort, with his heart separated and everything like that, it coexists Ansem and Zemnis.
So what you're saying is that Donald only called him that for the fact that he was wiser beyond his looks.
I mean, you think about it, Goofy, has there ever been a smart ideal that doesn't resolve him getting hurt at the end of the day?
I mean, unless if you count Country of Musketeers.
Yeah, but that also resulted him in getting hurt before that ideal happened. Especially when you consider the fact the first time, well, not so much in the game, but in the actual film, he accidentally somehow got himself thrown into that mix. And then as they were trying to corner the Beagle Boys, he had an ideal and drug Mickey into it. And somehow that actually ended up working in their favor to knock them out of the tower. And it's like... And still, technically, they still got kicked by the cow, technically. Twice!
Not to be confused with Clarabelle.
No, completely different cow. We don't want to touch that subject again because we've already talked about it with Pluto and Goofy.
Of course.
You wish. He'll never answer to you again.
Still so blind. A nobody is what's left behind when one gives his heart to darkness. There is only one way to bring Roxas back, which is for you to give your heart up as well. Sora, have you finally decided to call upon the darkness?
What?
Go on then. The shadows are never out of reach.
Speaking of which...
Now, set your heart free.
Wait! Sora!
We are Venom.
It's not darkness. Not if it helps him.
Hey, they use this music here too. Interesting that they're using it as a mid-boss theme.
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Despite the fact that it was originally tied to just being the Heartless battle theme for Destiny Islands. Yes, I know it technically appeared in Traverse Town, but that was a one-time thing. Don't crap yourself in the comments, viewers. To my knowledge, every other time you visit in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's not that song anymore. It's hand in hand.
Right. It's only whenever Sora first appears in Traverse Town when it happens.
Data Sora doesn't count towards this either.
Okay, then all my heart it is. I'm getting Roxas out. Are you with me? Donald? Goofy?
You betcha!
I don't know what Ansem and Xemnas want, but I think we better tell the others to watch out.
Okay then, let's head back to town.
So now we're going to report to Yen Sid.
We could try and catch up with Hannah and Orient.
I bet you there's a lucky emblem here.
Yeah, I've already got it. Where have you been, Goofy?
My head's been in the clouds.
Bless my bagpipes! It was you laddies who rescued my chef.
Huh? Wait, didn't he sell ice cream in Hollow Bastion?
That's right. But Uncle Scrooge here is what you might call a world traveler.
Cool.
Business opportunity.
How are you, Uncle Scrooge?
Oh, hello, Sora.
With my business partner, Merlin the Wizard.
I heard you were on another grand adventure with these two. I hope Donald isn't making a menace of himself.
Why did you have to say that?
So, Uncle Scrooge, what's that you were saying about a chef?
Oh, right. The chef of my bistro here wanted to show you his appreciation. So, he baked this for you.
What is it?
Wow!
Cake! The whole cake? It's for us? Huh?
Settle down. The chef wants you to know it's not a cake, but a tart of fruit.
He does?
Why keep it under my hat? May I introduce Little Chef?
Oh, it's you!
Uncle Scrooge, you opened the bistro in Twilight Town.
Aye. It all started a little while ago, when I was enjoying one of the best meals of my life. And when I asked to speak to the chef, I met this wee genius. As it turns out, he wanted to expand his culinary horizons. So I thought, that's an opportunity. And I financed the whole operation. Ooh, I think he wants to cook some more.
He somehow understood Remy.
Fetch some ingredients, especially anything unusual.
That'll be
Remy's pretty good when it comes to, like, communicating with people who don't understand his language.
Does this mean that Remy knows, like, sign language, and in turn Scrooge does too?
Theoretically, maybe. That'd be interesting if that ended up being the case.
That tart sure did look scrumptiously delicious.
I feel like that's something that Scrooge would have a skill about.
It would definitely benefit him.
Definitely would help with the impaired.
Little Chef needs more ingredients. We better keep an eye out.
Hope we find some ingredients.
It's so weird that they're calling him that instead.
Okay, one more. There we go.
Hey! Guys! Oh. Hayner! Olette!
Hey, boss. Done with the posters.
Hey, good work, kids.
You guys work for Uncle Scrooge here at the bistro?
Do we?
He gave us a short job.
So why exactly does Goofy call him Uncle?
Mr. McDuck's hosting an open air film.
Because he only knows him by Uncle Scrooge thanks to Donald.
Oh, Sora. Hold your phone up to the poster.
Okay.
That's...
There, you've just downloaded a promo game for the film.
You okay, Mech?
The poster!
Of course, laddie. Provide a bit of
That's one of the giants that predates Willy!
Yeah.
Like my bistro here. They'll all be happy and hungry and eager to spend
I did not
their
think they would
money.
have him in this.
I think it's really cool that they try to add in as much Disney reference as they can.
She sure is canny. I always wondered how he keeps customers coming into his businesses over and over.
So do you think that the couple of the
I'm
Mr.
no
Game &
business
Watches
guy, but I
were
sure
in the
wouldn't wanna be
Mickey
one of Uncle Scrooge's competitors.
Junk Mountain in Epic Mickey?
Oh, right.
I don't remember, but I think so.
Well,
I would have to take a closer look again. Me and Daniel have actually attempted about wanting to play that eventually.
Sure. But don't we have you guys to take care of him for us?
You have to leave again?
Would it be on this channel?
Actually, I don't know. We hadn't really talked about if we wanted to do it as like a Let's Play or whatever.
Sorry. Just
I just thought of something funny if that were the case.
That would be...
I know how Roxas feels to be lost.
You'd be Mickey,
But Donald and
Delmar
Goofy,
is Oswald,
Kyrie,
I'm Gus.
I'll be back by wishing with all their hearts. So, I was hoping the three of you would
I'm
do
now
the
just
same.
picturing in the
And wish
highlight
for
reel,
Roxas.
if this is included, you
That's it?
have promotional images of Mickey, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and Gus the Gremlin, but with our faces over them.
Thanks.
Hello, Ziggy.
Aren't you making it a little too obvious?
We were instructed to guide him.
Yes. Just look at them. They wouldn't get far if we did not spell it out. Fair enough. But let's not forget how many times
We've already been
Solas
doing this
still
for an
managed to
hour,
rain
holy
on our
shit.
parade.
Yep.
If he wavers from the path we lay, we destroy him.
But in that case, we'll have to find ourselves another vessel.
That is why we never have just one iron in the fire.
Are they talking about who I think they are?
They've got multiple options.
I wonder if this poster's got one of them promo games.
The worst case scenario? They're talking about Kyrie.
Yeah, let's try it.
Kind of. They're more or less talking about Shion.
That's even worse.
But alright then, I think it's time to tackle on Toy Bots now.
Toy bots.
Wow. Wow, my speech impediments. My words.
Sorry I left without saying goodbye. Did Master Yensid tell you? I'm training to become a Keyblade wielder like you. That's right. No more waiting for you to come back from your adventures. I want to get out there and do my part to help. Merlin has used his magic to bring us to a place where time doesn't matter. We can take as long as we need to complete our training. He's an amazing wizard. Oh, and by us, I mean me and Lee.
So, would this place be akin to that one location in Dragon Ball in where
He won't stop apologizing.
being inside of it for a day
I'll admit it
equals
was
a
bit
year's worth of
scary at
training?
first, but I
Ideally,
got to know
probably,
him.
yeah. I could definitely picture Merlin having some kind of capability to where he could do that.
Honestly, it's hard not to like him.
I mean, he is, after all, a wizard who's been able to
Every now and then,
time travel.
I catch him staring at me.
As seen towards the end of the movie,
When I ask what's wrong,
he's
he says,
managed to come back from the frickin' Bermuda Islands, where at the end of it he's like, and believe me, you can have
I
it.
think it may have something to do
One major mess, Alakazam!
with- Your journey is all about
Oh
helping
gosh.
people. Some that you've never met before, and some like Lee that you have. They're all counting on you. It won't be easy, but I hope
Imagine
you'll
if you could
remain the
explore a
happiest
place
and
like
cheerful
this.
Sora I know.
Oh gosh.
There's no heart your smile can't reach. What's wrong?
Oh, hey, look, it's my abductor.
Nothing. Sorry.
Lee.
What? I am.
So, is there a reason why he still kept his organization outfit?
To Sora?
He gives a reason later.
Technically, yes. But I won't send it. It's more for me.
Ask Merlin. He'll deliver it for you.
Yeah. But it's okay. I just like talking to Sora. Even if it's on paper.
Oh. Okay. Oh. Here.
Ice cream? Really?
Oh man, I just realized.
Merlin to pick these.
What if Kyrie had one of those phones?
You know, we did both come with teammates.
I think later on she does get a gummy phone.
You're sweet, Lee.
Nah.
It's like whenever after they saved Aqua and Ven, they all get gummy phones.
What?
No, nothing. I just...
You're trying to remember what you forgot?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So tomorrow, you and me in the ring. You ready?
Of course.
Don't hold back, Lee. Promise? Huh? Are you okay? Lee?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're crying. What's wrong?
Something in my eyes.
Lee.
You mean other than your hands?
I'm gonna go. Sorry.
Okay, but stop apologizing.
Fine. On one condition.
What?
Call me Axel from now on. Got it? Memorized?
Yeah. Okay, Axel.
Honestly, I kind of like the name Axel more than I do Lee.
It's just because we've known him for so much longer compared to Lee, it's kind of hard to kind of override it. Even whenever in Dream Drop Distance, I knew that his name was converted back to Lee, I kept saying Axel, and I'm like, they're coming.
See, that aside, with Lee, like, compared to Axel comparatively sounds a lot more badass.
It does. And I think that's part of the reason why, given Axel's character. Plus, technically, in Burst by Sleep, he wants to be remembered as by many as gosh. Wow. Okay.
That's one for the books.
No kidding, that was one messed up tongue twister there. He would prefer to be remembered by as many people as possible by Burst by Sleep storytelling.
So this is the place
where Aqua fell into the realm of darkness after she dove in to save Terra.
Yeah. She said he was acting strange.
Strange how, exactly?
She sensed darkness in him. And they ended up getting into a big fight.
Right. And in the aftermath, the two of them disappeared. Around the same time, the guards found a stranger with white hair lying unconscious here in the square. A man calling himself Xehanort.
Ansem the Wise took the stranger in, but that was a mistake. Xehanort betrayed his master, stole his research, and along with his fellow apprentices, separated his heart from his body. Xehanort's heart took his master's name, Ansem, and traveled to the past to give his younger self instructions. He even
I guess if anything, at least they're doing exposition things.
It does help because it's one of those things where it's like when you try to explain it on a broader scale, it's harder to take it all in. But when you try to see expositions like this, it helps make sense. And in Remind especially, they have like a little exposition explaining the different organization members as to where they come from and stuff like that. And it definitely helps explain the broader definition of what was going on behind the scenes of like, okay, where did all these members come from technically, you know? It really helped. It made things a lot more easier to understand later on. It's just whenever that moment happened and they first started to explain it, you go, what? And then later on, after the events and everything like that, it's fully explained and it's like, oh, okay. Alright. Then why'd you give me a migraine then? You know?
Because we like to see you suffer.
Oh gosh, no kidding. Oh, speaking of suffering. So, remember how... I don't know if you remember or not, but remember how I told you that I was very convoluted about the future development of Kingdom Hearts?
You mean about how you were concerned with the direction that they were going to be going in Kingdom Hearts 4?
Yeah, due to, like, Union Cross and all that. Frickin' Nomura decided to do another frickin' info drop on everybody. So, recently...
What, did he somehow manage to explain that in between the time of him going to Quadratum and the end events of Kingdom Hearts 3, his heart's transported to the past, and that's how he was able to get a hold of Wreck-It Ralph?
Nope. It's a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot more vague. So, recently there's a thing for Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary called Kingdom Hearts Second Breath Orchestra Tour. And they just did their first orchestra a couple days ago. This would be a week ago, technically, depending on who sees this win and stuff like that. But it's been a couple of days. And Nomura comes out. And basically he says there's no new information in regards to upcoming Kingdom Hearts projects. But then he says, due to an event that happened last year, essentially, basically the way he worded it, he said it changed the course of the development of Kingdom Hearts going forward.
Oh,
and
God.
Yoko Shimomura, which is the music director, technically, of the orchestra tour and stuff like that, she looks at him and be like, what do you mean? And Nomura turns to her and is like, you don't know? And it's like, I'll explain it to you backstage. At that point, everyone's like, what does that mean? So at this point, everyone's like, what the frick just happened? And I'm just over here like, Nomura, if this ends up being a press stunt, I am so pissed off beyond belief. Because you don't normally say stuff like that unless it's like some kind of promotional thing. Because stuff like that you tend to keep on the hush-hush. Especially
in the words of Archibald Asparagus, you can't just go start a song and leave it hanging like that!
Yeah! It's just, you don't leave us hanging! But Nomura has always been known for doing cryptic stuff like this, you know? But this is like the biggest one he's ever done thus far. Saying the phrase, it's what altered the course of Kingdom Hearts development for the future looking forward. And I'm like, what does that even mean, you freaking... Oh! And then everybody started talking, and you know how that goes.
Everyone loses their minds.
And my mind's
their
like...
Remind, if you will.
Yes, and even my mind's like, this is happening all over again. And at that point, I was like, okay, shut off everything that's going on in that direction. Flush all that away. Don't want to look at it, because It bothered me last time. It's bothering me again.
We don't talk about Namora. No, no, no. We don't talk about Namora.
Bravo, Mech. Bravo.
I swear to God, if there end up being a Kanto reference in Kingdom Hearts 4, this is just a coincidence. Holy shit.
Okay, if that ends up happening, I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember this to this day. That happens, I'm pulling this into that reference and be like, Mech called it!
Because I know that they're pulling from more modern stuff nowadays, as opposed to relying on the fucking bank load that is their classic IPs.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's kind of sad, too. Because I still wanted to see other previous worlds that has been in Disney archives, you know. Robin Hood, Jungle Book, Treasure Planet, Atlantis Lost Empire.
Maybe The Rescuers.
Yeah, but I mean, because of Kingdom Hearts 3, while they did bring in a lot of other stuff like Monsters, Inc., Toy Story, and Ratatouille, they still had a lot of other older stuff that came into this. Like the Game & Watch stuff, the flow rides and stuff like that.
I just hope that we don't end up getting anything from Fox or Marvel.
I hope not. That I know a lot of
Star Wars.
I know a lot of people are really hoping for that. Partially, I don't know why, but they still hope for that. But to me, let's just stick to just Disney. You know, let's just stick to just Disney. I'm okay if you introduce Pixar, because Toy Story was kind of a Disney big thing anyway. Literally, Toy Story is Disney's baby child of Pixar.
It's currently their content monster.
At this point, yes. Literally, that is the correct terminology to be used at this point in time. Toy Story 5, dear Lord Almighty. Anyway... But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to introduce all these other franchises that they own. It's like, just because they own them does not mean that they should be introduced technically, because that would just mess everything up, and oh dear Lord Almighty, I'm doing it again.
The most that I would possibly want to see would be Scrat as a summon. That's about it.
And that would be the only thing. But ooh, Lord Almighty.
Although if that's the case, if we're talking about that, would that mean the Muppets would be excluded?
As much as that would hurt me. Like, do we really want to see the Muppets with legs?
I mean, we have.
It's a little bit weird, and especially in CG terms. Like, the only thing I can remember in terms of Muppets in video game would be that Muppet PS2 party game. And every single time...
I thought there was also a racing game.
If there was, I don't remember.
Catacris covered it in everything.
I'll have to look into that. He might have, but that's the only thing I could think of in terms of, like, Muppets and video games and stuff like that. And every single time me and Daniel look into that, we're both looking at each other like, that's weird. The way they got them modeled and stuff like that, it's just kind of weird. But then again, it's probably because of the fact that, you know, they're trying to mimic the Muppet movement, but in video game form, it just looks weird. You know?
It's something straight out of the Uncanny Valley.
Just about, yeah. It's one of those things where you look at it and you go, that's just weird, dude. That's just weird. Especially whenever
Another thing I would personally exclude would be the sitcoms.
Yeah. Definitely exclude those. Disney's like, yeah, do not include those, do not include those, do not include those. For the love of God, do not include those!
I think I remember Dorkly doing a sketch with Kingdom Hearts where they ended up making a Kingdom Hearts bit where they entered in the world of Zack and Cody.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord. That's painful to think of.
Yeah, I do not think that Kingdom Hearts is ready for the likes of Darth Vader, Iron Man, Hannah Montana, and Bear from Bear in the Big Blue House.
If anything, if you're gonna do anything, you should have included, like, frickin' DuckTales or Goof Troop. Because we still have yet to see Max.
And PJ. Pistol. And Pete's pet dog that people on the internet are so horny about for some reason.
I'm not even gonna ask. This is news to me, but I'm not gonna ask. Best not to dive into that. Anyway, now that we've had our little rant talk, let's continue on.
Tangents aside.
Empty Body stayed in the present, took the name Zemnis, and founded Organization 13. Their goal was to prepare 13 vessels for Xehanort's heart.
Until we put an end to the organization. But all the while, young Xehanort had been visiting the future to choose 13 vessels of his own. Hearts with strong enough ties to him to begin a new organization. The real Organization 13. And now they're looking for a fight with us. But what happened to Terra? I thought you said that Aqua saved him.
Yep, she did. The problem is we didn't notice. You remember the end of the Mark of Mastery exam? When Master Xehanort made his grand return? That's the Xehanort I remember. He was already a pretty old man then. But how do you explain Ansem and Zemnis, his Heartless, and his Nobody? Isn't it strange how young they look? Why aren't they old men? It's because Xehanort was using a different body when the split happened. That face from the portrait I mentioned? It wasn't just some stranger that Ansem the Wise took under his wing. It was the young man whose body Master Xehanort possessed.
No way! That was Terra? Master Xehanort was using Terra?
Yup. Master Xehanort told us another on our list belonged to him. He was talking about Terra. Turns out, Aqua saved more than just her friend that day.
Okay. But Master Xehanort is an old man again now. Where did Terra's body go?
It's cause Master Xehanort's collecting vessels. He claimed to have 2 of our 7 lights. We got Sora back, but Terra must still be on Xehanort's side.
He's with Organization 13? We should warn Sora.
Yup, and Merlin too.
Yeah.
It took him this long.
Alright, so let's see.
Boy, is it a pain to have to deal with having knowledge that the characters don't.
Well, considering the fact that when you think about it, we've had an entire 20 years worth of game development of story. And all of that technically took place within the span of like roughly 2 years for the main cast, 10 years for the Burst by Sleep, and who knows how many godforsaken years for Union Cross. So you have multiple different timelines technically going on, but in terms of the main Kingdom Hearts story progression, it's technically 2 years. Meanwhile, it took us 20 years to get to where we're at now. 21 to be more precise.
Yep. So we're making the mini ships now?
Nah, we don't have access to them yet. We will soon, but not yet. Pardon me.
Excuse you. You know, while you're doing that, I'm gonna make myself a sandwich. I haven't had anything to eat all day.
Alright then.
Keep the audience entertained for me!
Alright, I will try my best. So how are you guys doing today? kind of weird if I just all of a sudden started to talk about fixing the ship up like as though as if it's a bit from I can't even think his name all of a sudden. What the hell? Bob Ross. You know, it's like we're just gonna put a couple little jetpacks here, you know, to help it go a little faster, you know. We don't make mistakes. We make little happy little accidents. Let's see. I like to put a little bit of extra firepower, you know, just to help it out a bit, you know. Never hurts to give it more firepower. Hang on a sec. I think... No, that's still not right. I think that might be it. Just a little bit of a detour. We eventually get our ship once we do. Pretty soon this ship will be soaring through the sky. Just like a swallow.
Note to self, after the stream, head to the grocery store.
Take a year out.
I'm almost out of milk.
Oh shoot. Definitely don't want to forget that.
Why is it from the front view it looks like he has glasses?
Those would be the dual gun turrets, but yeah, it does look like it's wearing glasses. I'm keeping it.
It kind of looks like a gummy version of Jeremy the Jet Plane.
Jeremy the Jet Plane?
From Thomas and Friends.
Huh. I'll take a look at that character design then.
I got you covered.
Ah, okay.
There you go.
I think we got this. HP could use a little work, I think. Yeah, I think we can make that work. Wait, actually, I got a better idea. Alright, let's see. What have we got?
I sent the picture in call context, by the way.
Okay. Let's see. There we go. Think that's got it.
Now it looks like a bird.
Funnily enough, whenever I was doing commentary for myself, I was actually saying, eventually we're gonna have this soaring in the sky like a sparrow.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
think that's what we'll do. I think we'll call this the Sparrow.
Alright.
SP...
ARROW.
ARR...
It's literally the word arrow with SP in front of it.
Oh. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Okay. Okay.
The music's starting to sound like the Magic School Bus intro. Like you listen to the beat, it's like do 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 do.
I guess that thing does have kind of like glasses almost. Kind of like visors for like air pilots. Trying to say pilots?
Yeah, Jeremy's kind of a weird character because where his eyes would normally be where the pilots are controlling him.
Oh, okay. Alright. Let's see how this ship does. We'll see if we can't tackle on that one boss that we didn't successfully take down. Now that we have more firepower, we should be able to take it down easily. The rocks are definitely being destroyed way easier than before.
I'm sorry, but the back of it, you've seen those little, like, binoculars you put in, like, a paper disc and flip through images on?
Yeah. Kind of like one of those?
The ship looks, yeah.
Kind of does. I was trying to make, like, a little halo in the back of it, because there's, like, a... So in Final Fantasy X, there's this airship, and it has like a halo type design on the back of it. I was kind of doing that, in a way. Alright, let's see how we do with this time. Oh, look at that. Now we're talking.
Hasta la vista, shippy!
There we go, that's better. believe I'm going the right way. Yeah, I'm going the right way.
We reach the world now, like this.
That is a weird-looking gummy ship.
I kind of like the design of it, to be perfectly honest.
So do you think the Toy Story franchise would not be as marketable outside of America? Because if you think about it, the first few movies included army toys.
I guess you make a good point. I guess it depends. Because I don't know if they changed the army toys in other countries or not. Because there's actually this content creator by the name of Edache. And he actually did a video talking about films in other countries and stuff like that. Specifically, like, the animated films and stuff like that. Especially, like...
Yeah, I know.
3D animated
where
films?
They ended up... I think he talked about voice actors being changed for different countries.
Yeah, and especially, like...
for example, in Ralph Breaks the Internet, the E-Boy in Britain is voiced by Dan TDM.
Yeah.
And only in Britain.
And then, of course, you have Zootopia, where, depending on the country, depends on the co-anchor animalistic character. So, yeah, I can definitely see... I guess depending, the army toys might be changed over. I'm not sure, though. Also, now
I remember when I was playing on Sword and Shield, the music that you hear for the Heartless fights in Toy Box, I end up using for the raid dens.
Huh.
Because I thought it'd be a lot more fun.
Okay.
Right, now, what were you saying? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, I realized what time it is, or rather how much time has passed. I did not realize we were going to be invested that much time with the gummy ship, much less with everything else that we've done. It's been 2 hours.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, and Toy Box is pretty big. So, I think we should...
Should we save that for next stream?
I think that would be wise. I think, in terms of, like, the gummy ship design, I'm pretty satisfied with what I've got. Obviously, when we get to the next world map and stuff like that, I may upgrade to a better ship and stuff. But I think for
right now, you just look like a bird with boom boxes.
I kind of like that. It's like a little birdie that's like... I kind of like that. But yeah, we'll hold off Toy Box for the next stream, which will be tomorrow. So, yeah, sorry to hold off Toy Box for a little bit longer, but don't worry, we will continue on our adventure in the next stream. Till then, this is me and NBC Mekachu signing off.
Bye.
Catch you guys later.